Hi everyone, welcome to the third part of this HTML5 for beginners. This lesson here is going to be looking at basic category types of content that we use in HTML5. And HTML before this had two main category types. One was block elements and one was inline elements, which was about the flow of the text, and block elements would allow you to help you find certain things on pages. In HTML5 there's now 7 different categories of elements. And you'll notice here that I'm on this web page here, the W3.org, and this is a copy of the W3C working draft of these elements in the content model. And if you don't know what the W3C is, it's a group of professionals and enthusiasts and everything who get together and try and write an international standards for HTML5. So they're trying to standardize and figure out what works across the whole spectrum of all these different things, because when HTML5 was first being written, there were different people trying to come up with different ideas of what the next version of HTML should be, and the W3C is one of the groups who's trying to work to conform this standard so it works across different browsers and everything like that. So if you start studying HTML5, you'll see stuff about the W3C quite a lot. And this page here is great because it comes up with all the different types of content models. Now, sorry, got a bit of a frog in my throat. So here are some of the different types of content we have, and we're going to look at this in a Venn diagram in a minute that they supply on the page, and I'll put a link to this here as well underneath the tutorial so you can go and have a look at it. There's 7 main types of content. There's meta content, flow content, sectioning content, heading content, phrasing content, embedded content, and interactive content, and they're the main types of content within inside the HTML documents. Let's have a look at this Venn diagram and see how they all relate to each other. And it's important we understand this diagram and how it works, because certain elements can only relate to the content that they're being used within, because certain elements must meet the requirements of the content that they're within. So for instance, headings can only have some of the H tags, and there are some of the tags that we've seen in our previous tutorials. It's also interesting to notice in this Venn diagram that some of the sections overlap, so it allows for some of them in some ways to relate to each other and be used in and around each other. For example, here we have interactive elements. It's overlapping both the phrasing and the embedded document elements as well, because some interactive elements are embedded as well. So let's start off with flow. As you'll notice, flow encapsulates all of these categories, and in fact, as you can see from the right hand side, it pretty much encapsulates everything. So then we have phrasing elements, and phrasing elements is pretty much everything you can put in a paragraph, and it's the text sorts of context. So you can have things like the B element, which makes things bold. You can have hyperlinks, image elements. So think of phrasing really as everything that you're writing in paragraphs and going to use that way. Then we have interactive elements, and interactive elements are quite exciting for HTML5 because HTML5 has added a lot more interactivity compared to the earlier versions of HTML. For example, there's new video elements you can put in, there's button elements, there's audio elements. HTML5 really has improved its interactive content now. Then we have the heading category. That includes the H1 to H6 heading tag, as well as the new H group tag, which we'll be looking at later on. Then we have the sectioning tag, which includes the nav, the sections, the aside, and the article tags. Then we have the embedded content. So audio we find again here, as we did in interactive. Canvas, embed, iframe. We can even put math objects in. We can even put SVG, we can put flash in, we can put video in. And then we have metadata. And metadata sets up the document's context and relationships, presentations and behavior with other documents and other things you might find perhaps outside of the norm of a HTML document. For example, you might be importing a style sheet, a cascading style sheet in, which would be considered a metadata tag. So that's the main 7 types of categories that we find inside a HTML5 document. And having a clear understanding of these will help you understand what tags you can use and how you can write a conformed web page.